Hi. So today we're going to finish filling in our fairy tale chart that you started earlier this week. So you should have the left side of the column filled out. Let's just check and see how you did. You can make changes if you think you need to. So the name, that's pretty easy. It's the title of the book. The main characters I wrote down were Red Riding Hood, grandmother, the wolf, and the huntsman. In some versions, he's also known as the woodcutter. Okay. The setting, I put woods and grandmother's house because half of it happens in the woods and the other half happens at her house. Now, I know that the story starts off at Little Red Riding Hood's home, but because they're not there for much of the story, that's not really part of the setting we have to write down. So then when it came to problems, I thought, well, this story was quite long. It had more than one problem. So I came up with 3 major problems. You might have come up with some other ones. That doesn't mean yours are wrong. Okay, you don't have to have exactly what I have, but you need to have at least one problem. So I wrote down for my problems, the first one was that grandmother was sick, right? That's kind of a problem. The second one, Red wandered off the path. Even though her mom told her not to, she wandered off the path to pick the wildflowers. And the biggest problem, of course, was that the wolf ate both grandmother and Red Riding Hood. So those are the 3 problems I chose to talk about. You do not have to list all 3. You might have a different problem you want to focus on. Okay, I'm just trying to give you some examples. But however many problems you write, you have to have that many solutions. So for my first problem, grandmother was sick. What was the solution? Red took her bread and things for her to eat, right? Second one, Red wandered off the path. Well, there really wasn't much of a solution there other than Red learned her lesson, right? And she promised to listen to her mother from now on. Number 3, the wolf ate grandmother and Red could have been the end of the story right there, right? But it wasn't. The huntsman came in. So the huntsman killed the wolf and freed grandmother and Red. That's the solution. Now, the point of view, I am looking at who is telling the story. Okay. Some of you might have thought I meant first person, second person, third person, and that would be okay too. If you chose that, your answer would be third person. I was just looking for something like this is being told by a narrator. Little Red Riding Hood isn't telling the story. The wolf isn't telling the story. Grandmother isn't telling the story, but it is the narrator who's telling the story. Okay, so now on to our story for today. If you did not watch the video of me reading the book, you need to do that first. So our fractured fairy tale is called Little Red Riding Hood. You can see how that it's a play on words, right? Okay, so then the characters. Who are the main characters in Little Red Riding Hood? Well, basically the same ones, right? I have Red and I have Grandma and I have the wolf. Now, the interesting thing about our fractured fairy tale, it has tons of other fairy tale characters in it, doesn't it? Isn't that neat how the author worked that in? But they are not main characters, so we're just going to stick with these 3. What was the setting here? Well, there was a little bit in the woods, not very much. There was a little bit in Grandma's house, but really not too much there either. Most of it takes place where? On the ice, right? So that's our main setting, is on the ice. Okay, then I was looking for problems. I came up with 3 again. So the first problem was, what do you think? I thought the first problem was that Red had no skating partner. Okay, and I'm going to jump down to the solution here. What was the solution? She asked everybody, and everybody had an excuse except for the wolf. So Red and the wolf became partners. So now she had somebody to skate in the competition with. What's the second problem I saw was that, well, when she was running from the wolf, what did Red do? She tripped on her laces. All right. What was the solution? How did that, whoops, this should be 2. How did that end up? The wolf caught her, right? And then the third problem I saw was that everybody was scared of the wolf, right? And he caused chaos. So what was the solution? Well, Red and the wolf skated I'm going to use the word wonderfully together. And then the crowds were no longer afraid of the wolf, right? Now, again, this story was written by the narrator. Now, I put that down because we're going to do more than one of these charts. And I remember as a kid reading a story about the 3 little pigs where the wolf told the story the second time. So the first one was told by a narrator, but the second one was told by the wolf. And it was a totally different take on the fairy tale. So some of the ones that we look at, these probably will not be the same. But in this instance, it is. So you can see how they're very similar, but yet the story is very different. And that's what's really cool about the fractured fairy tales. Take something that's common that you already know and makes it new again. Now, the cool thing is, after we do a few of these, you're going to write a fractured fairy tale yourself. And I can't wait to see what you come up with. Good job today.